from archaic translation by H.T. Francis. Jataka number 511. Kimchanda Jataka. Why do you, etc. This story the master told, while living at Jetavana monastery, about the observance of fast days. Now one day when a number of lay disciples and sisters, who were keeping a fast day, came to hear the law, and was seated in the hall of truth, the master asked them if they were keeping fast days, and on their saying that they were, he added, "And you do well to observe fast days." Men of old, in consequence of keeping half a fast day, attained to great glory, and at their request he told a tale of the past. Once upon a time at Benares Brahmadatta ruled his kingdom righteously, and being a believer he was zealous in the observance of the duties of the fast day, in the keeping of the commandments and in almsgiving. He also induced his ministers and the rest to take upon him vows of charity and the like. But his family priest was a backbiter, greedy of bribes, and a giver of unrighteous judgments. The king on a fast day summoned his counselors and asked him to keep the fast. The priest did not take upon himself the duties of the fast day. So when he had in the day been taking bribes and giving false judgments, and then had come to court to pay his respects, the king, after first asking each of his ministers if he were keeping the fast, questioned the priest, saying, "And are you, sir, fasting?" He told a lie and said yes, and left the palace. Then a certain minister rebuked him, saying, "Surely you are not keeping the fast." He said, "I took food early in the day. But when I go home I shall rinse my mouth, and taking upon myself the duties of the fast day, I will eat nothing in the evening, and all night I will keep the moral law, and in this way I shall have kept half the fast day." "Very good, sir," they said. And he went home and did so. Now one day as he was seated at judgment, a certain woman, who kept the moral rules, had a case on, and not being able to go home, she thought, "I will not transgress the observance of the fast day," and as the time came near, she began to rinse her mouth. At that moment a lump of ripe mangoes was brought to the Brahmin. He perceived that the woman was keeping the fast and said, "Eat this and so keep the fast." She did so. So much for the action of the Brahmin. In due course of time he died and was born again in the Himalaya country, in a lovely spot on the bank of the Kasiki branch of the Ganges, in a mango grove, 3 leagues in extent, on a splendid royal couch in a golden palace. He was born again like one just awakened from sleep, well dressed and adorned, of exceeding beauty of form, and accompanied by 16,000 nymphs. All night long he enjoys this glory, for by being born as a spirit in a phantom palace, his reward is corresponding to his deed. So at the approach of dawn he enters a mango grove, and at the moment of his entrance his divine body disappears. He assumes a form as big as a palm tree, 80 arm lengths high, and his whole body is on fire like a Judas tree in full flower. He has but 1 finger on each hand, while his nails are as big as spades, and with these nails he digs into the flesh on his back and tearing it out eats it, and mad with the pain he suffers, he gives utterance to a loud cry. At sunset this body vanishes and his divine form reappears. Heavenly dancing girls, with various musical instruments in their hands, attend upon him, and in the enjoyment of great honor he ascends to a divine palace in a charming mango grove. Thus did he, as the result of giving a mango fruit to a woman who was keeping a fast, acquire a mango grove, 3 leagues in extent, but, in consequence of receiving bribes and giving false judgments, he tears and eats the flesh from off his own back, while, owing to the fact of his having kept half the fast, He enjoys glory every night, surrounded by an escort of 16,000 dancing nymphs. About this time the king of Benares, conscious of the sinfulness of desires, adopted the ascetic life and took up his dwelling in a hut of leaves, in a pleasant spot on the lower Ganges, surviving on what he could pluck up. Now one day a ripe mango from that grove, the size of a large bowl, fell into the Ganges and was carried by the stream to a spot opposite the landing place used by this ascetic. As he was rinsing his mouth, he saw the mango floating in mid-stream, and crossing over he took and brought it to his hermitage and placed it in the cell where his sacred fire was kept. Then, splitting it up with a knife, he ate just enough to support life, and covering up the rest with the leaves of the plantain tree, he repeatedly day by day ate of it, as long as it lasted. And when it was all consumed, he could not eat any other kind of fruit, but being a slave to his appetite for choice foods, he vowed he would eat only ripe mango, and going down to the river bank he sat looking at the stream, determined never to get up till he had found a mango. So he fasted there for 6 consecutive days, and sat looking for the fruit, till he was dried up by the wind and heat. Now on the 7th day a goddess of the river, by thinking about on the matter, found out the reason of his action, and thinking, this ascetic, being the slave of his appetite, has sat fasting 7 days, looking at the Ganges. It is wrong to deny him a ripe mango, for without it he will perish. I will give him one. So she came and stood in the air above the Ganges, and conversing with him uttered the first stanza. Why do you on this river bank through summer heat remain? Brahmin, what is your secret hope? What purpose would you gain? The ascetic on hearing this repeated 9 stanzas. Afloat upon the stream, fair nymph, a mango I did see. With outstretched hand I seized the fruit and brought it home with me. So sweet it was in taste and smell, I deemed it quite a prize. Its attractive shape might compete with biggest water jar in size. I hid it mid some plantain leaves, and sliced it with a knife. A little served as food and drink to one of simple life. My store is spent, my pangs appeased, but still I must regret. In other fruits that I may find, no relish I can get. I wither away. That mango sweet I rescued from the wave will bring about my death, I fear. No other fruit I crave. I've told you why it is I fast, though living by a stream, whose broadening waves with every fish that swims are said to teem. And now I request you to tell to me, and flee you not in fear. O lovely girl, who you are, and for which reason you are here. Fair are the maidservants of the gods, like polished gold are they. Graceful as tiger offspring along their mountain slopes that play. Here also in the world of men are women fair to see. But none amongst or gods or men may be compared to you. I ask you then, O lovely nymph, gifted with heavenly grace. Tell me your name and family and from where derived your race. Then the goddess uttered 8 stanzas. Over this fair stream, by which you sit, O Brahmin, I have lordship, and dwell in vasty depths below, under Ganges' rolling tide. All clad with forest growth I own 1,000 mountain caves, from where flow as many flooded streams to mingle with my waves. Each wood and grove, to Nagas dear, sends on full many a rill, and yields its store of waters blue, my ample course to fill. Often carried upon these tributary streams are fruits from every tree, rose apples, breadfruit, dates and figs, with mangoes one may see, and all that grows on either bank and falls within my reach. I claim as lawful prize, and none my title may impeach. Well knowing this, listen to me, O wise and learned king. Cease to indulge your heart's desire, renounce the cursed thing. O ruler earlier of broad domains, your act one cannot praise. To long for death, in prime of youth, great wrongdoing, sure, betrays. Brahmins and angels, gods and men, all know your deed and name. And saints who by their holiness attain on earth to fame. Yes, all that wise and famous are, your sinful act proclaim. Then the ascetic uttered 4 stanzas. One who knows how weak our life is, and how transient things of sense. Never thinks to kill another, but abides in innocence. Honored once by saints in council, owner of a virtuous name. Now with sinful men conversing, you do win an evil fame. Were I on your banks to perish, nymph with attractive form gifted. Ill repute would rest upon you, like the shadow of a cloud. Therefore, goddess fair, I request you to, every sinful deed avoid. Otherwise, a byword of the people, you have caused my death to regret. On hearing him, the goddess replied in 5 stanzas. Well I know the secret longing, yours to bear so patiently. And I yield myself your servant and the mango give to you. Lo, previous sinful pleasures, pleasures hard to be left. You have gained, to keep forever, holiness and peace of mind. He that, freed from early bondage, hugs the chains he once gave up. Rashly treading ways unholy, ever sins more and more. I will grant your earnest craving, and will bid your troubles cease. Guiding you to cool recesses, where you may abide in peace. Herons, manar birds and cuckoos, with the red geese that love. Nectar from the bloom to gather, swans high up in troops that move. Paddy birds and lordly peacocks, with their song awake the grove. Saffron and kadamba blossoms lie as chaff upon the ground. Ripest dates, the palms adorning, hang in clusters all around. And, amidst the loaded branches, see how mangoes here are many. And singing the praises of the place she transported the ascetic there, and, asking him eat mangoes in this grove till he had satisfied his hunger, she went her way. The ascetic, eating mangoes till he had appeased his appetite, rested for some time. Then, as he wandered in the grove, he noticed this spirit in a state of suffering and he had not the heart to utter a word to him. But at sunset he saw him attended by nymphs and in the enjoyment of heavenly glory and addressed him in 3 stanzas. All the night anointed, fated, with a crown upon your brow. Neck and arms covered with jewels, all the day in anguish you. Many thousand nymphs attend you. What a magic power is this! How amazing thus to vary from a state of suffering to bliss! What has led to your undoing? What the sin that you do regret? Why from yours own back do ever eat the flesh each day again? The spirit recognized him and said, You do not recognize me, but I was once your priest. This happiness that I enjoy in the night is due to you, as the result of my keeping half the fast day. While the suffering I experienced by day is the result of the evil that I brought. For I was set by you on the seat of judgment. And I took bribes and gave false decisions, and was a backbiter, and in consequence of the evil that I brought by day, I now undergo this suffering, and he uttered a couple of stanzas. Once in holy tradition delighting I in sinful toils was thrown. Working evil for my neighbor, through the lengthening years I passed. He that shall, backbiting others, love on their good name to prey. Flesh from his own back will ever tear and eat, as I today. And so saying, he asked the ascetic why he had come here. The ascetic told all his story at length. "And now, holy sir," the spirit said, "will you stay here or go away?" "I will not stay, I will return to my hermitage." The spirit said, "Very well, holy sir, I will constantly supply you with a ripe mango." And by an exercise of his magic power he transported him to his hermitage, and, asking him dwell there contentedly, he got a promise from him and went his way. From then on the spirit constantly supplied him with the mango fruit. The ascetic, in the enjoyment of the fruit, performed the preparatory rites to induce mystic meditation and was destined to the master, having finished his lesson to the lay folk, revealed the truths and identified the birth. At the conclusion of the truths, some attained to the first path, some to the second, and others to the third path. At that time the goddess was Upalavanna, the ascetic was myself.